by the look of it. Tarbin Walker getting away from pole position well as well. But the one to watch for, the man that won it yesterday, and it was a banner finish, 5 across the line all together, and that was Taupore's Zach Fuller, the Kiwi rider, Suzuki 150. All these bikes absolutely identical, save for a little bit of fine fettling. And as you mentioned before, for under $6,000, you get to go racing on a brand new machine, completely outfitted with Alpine Stars, the greatest protective gear in the world, and that's helmet, boots, gloves, leathers, and the only difference to the little 150s, and they don't have a whole lot of horsepower, but gee, they generate some fantastic racing, is the fact that Mead Speed put a different exhaust pipe on them. And of course you take all the commuter accoutrements off them, the lights, the indicators and things like that. And the other thing is, once you get sick of racing or you outgrow the little 150, you can put all the bits and pieces back on it. That makes it a pretty good road machine, and it's a great little commuter for students or something like that. It's geared from 14 years of age they start off, and you heard us say last night and yesterday afternoon that this is a continuation of the Gixer Cup that started with the Suzuki series. Now, because there was a 16-year-old age restriction at the Wanganui Cemetery Circuit, a lot of these guys didn't get to compete there, but they will do a 7-round series to complete their nationals, if you like. But it's a little bit more than the nationals for the Gixers. The leaders, and there's a whole heap of them, there's 4 of them together as they head down into the Dale ITM Pirelli Sweeper at the bottom end of the circuit. Watch for Thomas Newton, he was the best one away. Blake Ross was in that battle as well from Pyra. So too was Tarbin Walker from Wanganui. We'll see how it shakes out as they head up the top of the hill to complete one of 6 laps here at Hampton Downs. It's the Mike Perro Real Estate Motorfest for 2018. It's the second day of competition. You'll hear the rumble before you see them. As I said, not the fastest bike on the racetrack here this weekend, but certainly some of the closest racing you'll see. Once again, you see a bit of a draft fest going on here between second and third. Just looking to pull out of the draft there was Blake Ross to try and move up a spot. Thomas Newton is the race leader as they head down into turn 1 once again. Then it is Tarbin Walker, then it's Blake Ross, and then Jesse Stroud. And should I say, Blake Ross has just done the fastest lap of the race, sitting in 3rd place, 2:20.567 seconds. And that is shifting along on one of these little bikes. So down onto the back straight they go, under the laser plumbing and electrical pedestrian bridge, and there's still the 3 of them. You could throw a blanket over them as they work down now through the Foster's hairpin and out onto Swampy's curves, and then they'll attack the double B, the double bastard, as Tony Quinn has quite eloquently named it. It's the big circuit here at Hampton Downs, and it must feel like a huge circuit for these little 150cc machines. Talk about breeding tomorrow's champions today. That's certainly the case here in the 150s. And just looking at the spread of the lap times, the first 10 bikes within a second and a half. So that's how close the racing is here in the Gixer Cup. Brought to you by Suzuki, of course. Look out for Zach Fuller. He's a little bit ways back at the moment. I think he's down in about 6th place as they cross the stripe, and they'll be all together as they get closer to the finish. A leader change by the look of it. I think you might have seen Tarbin Walker go up onto the lead, but the red flag has come out, so we've got an issue on the circuit, so the race will be stopped. These guys will head back to the dummy grid. We'll just have a quick circle around the cameras and see if we can see what the incident was all about, but the red flag is out. And the riders will come back to the pit lane. Just looking around the circuit, nothing obvious at this stage.
Okay, the paddy pass, right, okay, yeah.
So we've got the ambulance out on the track. Just having a look down there on pit lane, so we'll have a little bit of a delay while we sort this one out. We'll have some music for you. We'll come back and recap what we've seen and reset here at Hampton. Red lights 3, 4, 5 will be racing very, very shortly in the resumption of this one. Once again, another good start there from Tarbin Walker on pole position, and he's just getting as aerodynamic as possible, but Jesse Strouds goes to the inside, and he's got a good run going too as they work their way into turn number 1 here at Hampton Downs. Remember, we're using the big international circuit, so 4 laps is a bit of a struggle for these guys. It's a long way round, but they say, don't they, that it's a marathon, not a sprint. That certainly is for the 150. So they're working their way down the long back straight here under the laser plumbing electrical bridge into the Foster's turn number 2, and once again there's a gaggle of them at the front of the field. Just trying to pick them up as they head down into Swampy's curves, the extension of the circuit. In fact, once again, you could throw a blanket over the whole field at the early stages of this one. So they'll all safely have negotiated turn 1, turn 2 this time. Just checking that as they work their way down through Swampy's curves. Once again, this bunch starting to form itself at the front of the field. Blake Ross is in there. Tom Newton, remember, watch 2 for Zach Fuller. He was the first race winner yesterday, but what a finish it was, that first race. 5 abreast, 5 lined out along the start-finish straight here at Hampton Downs, and they crossed the line pretty near in identical positions. There was less than, I think it was 10 1,000ths of a second between first and second. That's close racing, Neil Ritchie.
Yeah, it was indeed. I've got to congratulate Hampton Downs, their presentation, and we have the opportunity to see that because of the cameras being on the outside of the track looking in. The tractors going around after racing yesterday to re-groom all of this kitty litter area, looking absolutely beautiful, so well done. This is a world-class facility here, and it's those little things that make a difference, and their presentation is superb. The professionals that are here today to make this event run so well is to be congratulated. So that's why you see Motorfest of the highest quality here at the highest quality venue in the country. So Mike Perro Real Estate in our Motorfest, and this GixerR Cup, yes indeed, Phil, all of the things you say I 100% support. This is just so magic to watch. That 5, I want a photo of that. That would almost be a screensaver, I reckon, to see how good the sport is, and an ex-Suzuki rider as well, to watch all of the wave of them coming over the top, because there was 0 slipstream. If you were in the slipstream, you weren't getting any advantage. You couldn't make the pounce to the line. So all of a sudden it was go out and move, it was go out and move, and obviously what you're going to see is the first 2 anyway. Look at this battle going on, 4 of them going in at Hammer and Tom for 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. Now, I'll tell you one that I can always pick up, and it's nice to see because it's young Michael Wilson. He's not as well placed in this race. The lovely man from Invercargill, the 16-year-old from the capital of the south, the Burt Munro, capital of New Zealand. But he's got a little bit of the bright pink tucked on his tail fairing right at the back of the bike. So it just makes that point of difference when you're looking at a group of riders and how's Michael going, you can just pick him up straight away. So he's got that point of difference that makes it great for commentators, because these beautifully presented bikes, well, they're the Model T Ford, aren't they? They're only available in one colour scheme unless you want to...
That's actually not true. That's a misnomer. Henry Ford never said that, because in the early days, Model Ts were blue, black and green.
Oh.
So there you go. I learned that. Someone else pulled me up about that. I said, yeah, you can have it any colour you want as long as it's black. It's like the Shane Richardson T-shirts. Any colour you want as long as they're black.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's not true. Henry Ford never said that. As I said, and the ones... at one stage, I mean, this has got nothing to do with motorcycling, but we might as well continue. At one stage, Model Ts were made in Birmingham, in England, and they were blue over there.
There you go.
So there you go. You've learned something.
So we'll pull that one right out of the vocabulary. It's the last time we ever say that one. So there we go. But these ones are in fine livery, and of course it's just that little distinctive difference, whether it be the colour of the helmets they got. Remembering they're supplied with a Bell helmet, Alpine Star leather, Alpine Star boots and gloves. It's a fantastic kit. It's all part of the racing. So as much as you've got other production-based classes, and you've then all of a sudden got to go and buy all those other accessories, you're getting them on board in this amazing Suzuki package, and the numbers are still growing. People like young Shane Walker has only just joined the series, a man from Hanson, supported by none other than Phil Turnbull, New Zealand motorcycle great, and Courtesy Motorcycles, a business for which he's the manager and super salesman in Palmerston North. Courtesy Motorcycles on JFK Drive, another great Suzuki dealer in the Suzuki dealer network, supporting their young riders like White Line Suzuki are out of Pyroar, with this young man Blake Ross, whose dad works at White Line, so that adds a little bit of a bonus to it as well. And they've got people like Team Rees, the Rees family, behind them supporting them. Doesn't matter about the colour of the bike or the brand association. It's the Rees boys trying to pass on as much as they can to help young Blake, because it is fantastic, this new young class with 14-year-old Clark Fountain, the youngest man out there. So hopefully they go once again, Thomas Newton, Tarbin Walker. Then the next one through would be Blake Ross, the man we talked about, then Zach Fuller, the first race winner. So that group, we saw it yesterday, and it's a bit of a carbon copy. We saw 2 get away, and then they came back to the field, and then it was that 5-way go with 2 laps to go. We mentioned it too. You don't want to be in the front with 2 to go here at Hampton Downs, because you'll get swamped in the drafting fest. And apparently somebody had spotted the fact that Tarbin Walker had set himself upright down on the bottom curb because he was in the front and he thought it was the wrong place. But somebody says they also believe he lost too much of the momentum, because he then finished 5th in that group. So he was, I know they were all within a bike length of each other, but he was the 5th of that group. So whatever he'd done is just to over dramatise it, it was just a little over exaggerated on his behalf. So there we go.
Now, even though these guys are young, and you said they start off at 14, there's a lot of psychology at play. I was talking to Pete McPhee before, and I know that he's helping out young Zach Fuller, and Zach said there's a lot of cat and mouse going on in the early laps. People are sitting up and thinking, oh, I'm not going to show my hand just yet, you know. Amazing to think that these kids, some of them just well, not out of their teens, but thinking like real seasoned pros.
Exactly. And of course, you've got other people like young Zach as well, of course. Well, when it comes to motorcycle racing, he's a dab hand. He's been on a 50cc, an 85cc, 125. Of course, he's done motocross. He's been into cross country. He's done it all. So he knows about pacing himself and when to the right places to attack and everything. So as much as he had knobbly tyres underneath him, and for the first time, we'll call it a slick, but it's actually a treaded tyre, of course. And thanks to Dunlop, of course, who are supplying all the same tyres for these bikes, these guys really are starting to lay it on, and great to see. So 2-1, and then about 4. Oh, there we go. Just picking up. In fact, I think somebody's walking over as if they're going to be raising that one. So they are indeed. So
red flag again here in the Gixers. Maybe some of these boys just trying just a little bit too hard.
Well, that's not just one. That's at least
down
two.
by the look of it.
Is it maybe even 3? Maybe even 3. Is that 2 bikes in that? Or is it just a rider that's down there that they're looking to? The marshals have gone over, so 2 of them, and one of them's just been put back out by the side of the track. I get the idea that I know that is a rider with a bike. I'm just a little thinking at the moment there might have been somebody else. But anyway, folks, that's the second red flag of the Gixer Cup. They might be the slowest. They come in. If I get the stat right, it's something like, I think they're standard at about 15 horsepower.
I know you suggested they weren't 20.
And they've got a mid-speed titanium pipe on them, and there's only a fraction of enhancement that's done to those, just to actually make them perform rather than be enhanced. And they're still at under 20 horsepower. Just amazing, a little bike. But when you've got all of the field in the same, just how good do they look? And bad luck to those involved in that incident. But here's the rest of the field coming in now as they should be. They'll go back down and line up. That's what they do. You can't go back into your pitch. You can't look for a refuel. Whatever the decision's made, it's got to affect everybody in the same way. So here you have it, an update with our team. So Thomas Newton, Tarbin Walker, Blake Ross, Zach Fuller, Clark Fountain, Jesse Stroud and Cameron Goldfinch were our top 7 riders in that 2x1x4 that we were watching, that groups of riders out in front. But it's going to be a restart of some description. But how much of the race to decide, we'll find out from the officials shortly. Back with you with more.